Will you tell Miss Lizzie that I've gone to Fairhaven? I can't stand it any more than you can. That's why I'm going to Fairhaven for a while. I don't know. I wasn't here. I was in Fairhaven. I had to get away. That's why I'm going to Fairhaven for a while. And I went to the shed and got out the axe and came back to Fall River.
They might have found out that you'd been away from Fairhaven.
And I know you'll have a lovely visit in Fairhaven, Miss Emma.
Happy How-ah-ween 2018.
How-ah-ween? Have we ever made that gag before?
3 times.
Oh, wow.
He always forgets.
Dementia.
That means it's a good gag because it'll always be fresh to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it is annual.
It's always fresh to me.
Or that it's a bad gag because you keep forgetting it.
You're like,
So forgettable.
Pirate Pizza Review. Have we made that joke before?
Have we done that gag?
So look, here's the bottom line.
Yeah.
We've made a lot of Halloween content this year.
I'll say.
We always make a lot of Halloween content, but we've covered you every Tuesday and every Sunday, and there was not room. There was not. We didn't feel it was necessary to do a podcast.
Yeah.
And then like one dude left a comment.
And leave it to Frankie.
And
if
it bugged
one
me.
dude says...
It bugged me.
Yeah.
He was like, "I'm really looking forward to this year's podcast."
Kind of puts the
There's that
pressure on for
one
it to
guy.
be really good.
And I was like, he's like, "I really like the long form stuff. I like when you guys are just kind of riffing. It's not edited." I'm like, "Well, all right, it's not edited. Fine."
Everybody likes something, right?
And then it converged with, there were a few topics I wanted to get into, and Nina just won't stop with the Halloween treats.
Uh-huh.
So at this point, not only have we done 3 specials dedicated to treats, we also did a few on the actual Halloween show, and now
I feel a little bit like a feeder, just throwing that out there.
it is a bit, yeah, it is
Is that your maternal instincts kicking in? You have to feed everyone.
One time she was accused of enabling fat people.
Really?
In a Reddit post.
We've all been accused of that at some point in our life, I think.
At least you and Nina.
I enable a fat person every day.
Self-enabling.
So we've got Entenmann's.
Entenmann's.
Entenmann's
Entermann's.
So they look to me like they're just donut holes.
Yeah, those are just donut holes in a Halloween box. But these pumpkin delights, I think, are a pumpkin cookie.
Apple in them, right?
I was gonna get fall cakes just for old time's sake, but I didn't see any in Lee's.
Wow.
Not fall. Not there were zebra cakes, of course.
Yeah. What were the fall?
Well, there's like pumpkin trivia on the back of the little
Don't
Debbie
they just have like
box.
orange sprinkles? It's just enough to.
Just very close to zebra cakes.
All right. You guys want some
Zebra
pumpkin
cakes.
trivia from the back of the box?
Of course we do.
The name pumpkin comes from the Greek word pepo, meaning large melon. Anybody know that?
I did not.
No.
Pumpkins are a fruit that contains seeds, but when it comes to cooking, they're often referred to as vegetables. Now, how come tomatoes get credit for that all the time? They're
Yeah.
like, did you know tomatoes are really a fruit, but you never hear about pumpkins? They never talk about pumpkins, and squash, for that matter, must be it too, right? And cucumbers?
Yeah.
Throwing that out there.
Cucumbers are a fruit.
I'm throwing that out
Yeah.
there.
That's odd.
Are they technically a melon?
So pickles are
Yeah,
fruit.
they are.
Yeah. Delicious fruit.
Those are vinegar fruit.
The largest pumpkin ever recorded was in 2016 and weighed in at 2,624.6 pounds.
That's a ton of pumpkin.
Over 1 billion pounds of pumpkin are produced in the U.S. every year. Possibly less this year with the rising cost of pumpkin. Maybe a supply and demand
a
problem.
billion pounds. Did you get that?
1 billion pounds of pumpkin are produced.
A billion pounds.
Pumpkin weighing 98 pounds.
Sell it for $1 billion.
Well, do you want to just try these little
I want to try this.
gunguses?
Oh dear.
They look better on the box.
They got smiley
Oh,
faces.
yeah. They look.
Yeah, they look definitely better.
Results may vary.
Well, the box makes it look more like an apple crispy kind of apple pie thing.
Is there apple or is it like a pumpkin gel?
Pumpkin slime.
Pumpkin slime.
Pumpkin slime inside. Now with 30% more pumpkin slime.
This is one of the part of that 1 billion pounds of pumpkin. Is there even any pumpkin in it? I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, so there's this little. It's sad.
The mouth is pretty well defined, but the eyes are really.
It smells heavily spiced.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, my
Yeah,
pumpkin.
I think it smells good.
It smells.
All right, let's try.
My pumpkin has an
like a
extra
ginger
chromosome here.
There is pumpkin puree in it.
It definitely has the texture of those Pepperidge Farm cookies, which is not great.
I like that it's nice and soft.
It's better than the Pepperidge Farm cookies, I think.
I don't know.
No? Frankie rejects outright?
You know
It's
what?
not for me, Jen.
It gives me a Fig Newton
Yeah.
vibe.
That's
got a
that's
Big Newton
what
texture
it looks
to it. It's
like
nice
for
and
texture.
soft.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not awful.
What
It's
would have
not
made
great,
this
though.
better for you? Like a crispier, like a crunchier cookie?
Yeah, first of all, that like soft. The best way I can describe.
Outer spongy area.
Yeah, that soft that fupa kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like pumpkins.
No, that kind of like almost gingerbread soft cookie thing that
Yeah.
like those shitty cheap cookies. I don't really go in for that. And then the filling is gross
And
at
gelish.
the worst,
Yeah.
but and bland and inoffensive at the best.
I thought they were going to be a lot better based on the picture. Let me tell you that.
Yeah,
Well,
The picture made me think I was going to get a nice little pastry. Instead, I've got like a crap cookie.
but
It reminds me of a cross between a molasses cookie and a fig Newton.
is there molasses in here?
I don't get much pumpkin at all from it, but I kind of like it.
I bet you could leave that out on. I bet you could leave that out on the counter. You could have ants all over it. It would still taste exactly the same. 7 weeks later.
There are molasses.
This
Yeah,
cookie
there's
plus
molasses.
ants, you think taste the same?
Yeah, I don't think ants affect the taste.
They're going to add some texture. I'm sorry.
Yeah, ants and ant poop.
So out of 10 pumpkins, how many do you give this?
2.
2? That bad, huh?
Well, I mean, I guess it's not gross. I mean, 3.
I give it 5 pumpkins.
Yeah.
If you were stuck on a
We
desert
really should
island,
have introduced this rating system earlier. Like we've gone through a lot of
I
this.
just came up with it.
I'm sure we could retroactively assign. Most things have been like 2 to 4
We
pumpkins.
could add a graphic on later on.
I'd give it a solid 7.5 pumpkins.
Well, Zach
You're
likes
okay
it.
with this thing?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say like 7 pumpkins, 6 or 7.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof. I don't believe you. I don't believe
You don't believe that my own rating
You don't
system-
believe my opinion.
You don't believe in this rating system?
I don't
just invented?
Are we just going to dive right into these?
I
or-
think so. I
Okay.
mean, these are clearly not anything that we don't know about. But
You're not going to read the trivia on the back?
Pop'ems.
but let's
What, is
face
there
it,
trivia? No.
donut holes
The ingredients.
are the universal
Ingredient
office treat.
And Entenmann's is a pretty high-end brand. They're still pretty expensive.
Oh, okay. They got bats and pumpkins on the packaging.
Yeah, is there anything Halloween tasting about this, or is it just
No.
different Halloween
It's,
packaging?
it's an Entenmann's glazed donut hole.
They're good.
Oh, they're delicious, yeah.
To my surprise, it'd be nice if there was a mix. If you had a little bit of your.
Yeah, variety, like a
Yeah.
chocolate one, too.
The picture shows a chocolate one and a
They are
glazed
good.
one.
Yeah. Entenmann's stuff is still premium quality. Now, compared to the cookies,
Should I take over the show while you guys all eat donuts?
yeah,
You used to like donuts.
I love donuts.
that is a really good.
We were criticized years ago for talking about pastries and treats around Halloween time too much.
But I was saying before we started rolling that we used to pretty much just have whatever candies you got, which we talked a lot about the candies, and Dunkin' Donuts donuts were always the
Yes.
holiday themed ones, and that's what we've talked about too much. I really feel like a lot of these treats I've made you guys taste are a pretty new concept. Like I don't remember a lot of seasonal brands that I would recognize coming out with seasonal products for Halloween when I was younger.
A way to get more money out of the brand, you know? That's all it is.
The Halloween might carry with it more nostalgia than it even did when we were kids.
See, they do show a chocolate one or something
it's a little
on
misleading.
the box.
I think that nowadays, like nostalgia in general is a huge business, right?
Oh, yeah,
No matter
especially-
what.
And I think maybe that's the case because
Things are so much better documented.
yeah. So there's probably some of that. There's probably the fact that we're the ones our age group spending money, and when we were children in the '80s, things were pretty commodified.
Yeah,
So we're nostalgic for products and for services.
yeah.
And then I would also say that living online, social media.
You're constantly exposed.
Well, I think that you're actually. I think the life blends together. You stop sort of knowing what day it is after a while, and I think like the seasons like give a very necessary segmentation to things.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's why I wouldn't want to live somewhere that was basically seasonless, you know?
I think you make a really good point about our generation. I think previous generations were nostalgic for like home cooked meals and things with their family, and then our generation, because
Products.
of TV and commercials, products that can be reproducible and that they can sell back to us.
Do you think nostalgia is like a relatively new marketing technique, or has it always been? Because people in power and people in money kind of understand that if you're selling a product, they understand that as you get older, you feel kind of shittier about your life. So let's offer a product that kind of brings you back.
Well,
to
I mean,
a
no
better
doubt,
time in your life.
no doubt that there's some of that. But I mean, in the '80s, people were nostalgic for the '50s, and
Yeah.
you know, I mean, there's always. I think nostalgia's always been a business, but I think, what makes us unique maybe is that in the 80s it was all, service based.
Specifically for selling.
Yeah. Like to Nina's point, like where you can actually just make those things again.
Like not just, hey, we're nostalgic for sledding. And do you remember when your mom would make you hot chocolate on a snow day and a snowman? We're like, no, I had the Dreamweaver Barbie and she turned into a fairy, and now you can sell that back to me.
Yeah.
It makes for collectibles too. So my dad bought a Willys Jeep from, I want to say 1963, something like that. And there's a lot of people around this area, like in the last 5 years, that have seen it and were super nostalgic for it. My understanding is it's the same thing with like VHS tapes or vinyls or whatever else. Everybody had that vehicle, and then everybody threw it out.
Yes, exactly.
And now everybody wants one.
Willys, what is it?
Yeah,
It's a kind of vehicle.
it's a kind of Jeep from the 60s.
Oh.
And he was telling me that now the value seems to be going down because now the people that would be nostalgic for it are either less interested or dying.
Yeah.
And he was like, collectible cars from 20 years ago, nobody wants them now.
Yep.
He's like, because the people who cared died.
Yeah, they're gone.
Do you think there's like a dip, and eventually there'll be like the next generation?
I mean, it has to be infused with meaning from somewhere.
like from your own youth, like when you were a kid and you like
Something. I mean, for some reason, you have to care about wanting to see the thing again.
Yep.
For some reason, you need to want to smell the thing again and do the thing again.
Yeah.
You'd have to have that you can't be nostalgic for someone else. Be like, I bet my dad would like this. And like, that's not going to drive a lot of purchase.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I thought there'll always be people who like the idea of the 60s or the idea of the 50s, without ever having experienced it. But you're right that the volume of it's going to go way down.
Yeah.
I think it's going to happen with like old video games too. I think as like as Gloria's generation comes up, they're not going to be interested in NES and SNES games.
no.
Or the style of
Yeah, because we always talk about how retro video games were not very valuable for a very long time.
Yeah, they were. I used to go to like Funko Land and buy 20 of them for $17.
And then there was kind of a value boom where everybody wanted to play them again, or the specific cartridges again. And I wonder if now it's taking another dip. And
we're heading back down, especially because a lot of those things have become so accessible in other ways too.
I also think that the value of those were driven probably by a lot of YouTube content. It was like a lot of people were viewing these games, talking about these games. You were seeing a lot of game rooms and content. And you were like, oh, wow, I'd like to own a little piece of that. And so bringing it back to Halloween, I think Halloween itself, the season, is like a nostalgic thing. And I think that drives a lot of parents to be like, I want to do a big costume thing, or I want to do a big event, or I want to bring you to something. But again, from our youth, that also comes with Ecto Cooler and Boo Berry and Count Chocula.
Yep.
And McDonald's pumpkin pails. I cut to a clip of McDonald's pumpkin pails on the on one of the Treats episodes that we did, and somebody was like, "Thank you so much for reminding me that existed."
Yeah.
Or the "I like to eat the peanut butter first" commercial.
Something spooky going on at McDonald's.
Something spooky at McDonald's.
Flash frying everything.
Not Halloween related, but I always think poor McDonald's, because they got stigmatized for being so bad for our health first.
Yeah.
And nobody else has really caught the shit the same way that they have. When everybody's equally as bad.
Why do you think that is?
I think that they were
the biggest.
They were the biggest. It's sort of like in the same way Walmart catches shit and Dollar General doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like,
or Target doesn't. Target's not that much worse of a company than Walmart.
Yeah. I just always find that interesting when it's like they go after kind of one.
Yeah, the biggest one gets the target. Is the target.
We hate big business.
Yeah.
In this case,
Yell at
Target
the
is not
biggest
the target.
one.
What's the saying? The squeakiest wheel gets the oil first.
The squeakiest Walmart.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease, but it's not quite apt here.
No, because that means that they would get preferential treatment.
Yeah.
For being so loud.
Well,
and
they're
annoying.
noticed first because they're so prevalent.
So this year, on a couple of occasions, we have seen Gloria, our 16-month-old, frightened. She on one occasion it was Matt's puppet. This past March.
That was probably her first frightening.
That was probably the first time I ever saw her go like, "Ah!" I don't like the thing I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I wonder if she'll like this guy better when she meets him.
I don't think so. And then, I would be pretty fucking scared of that thing. And then we pulled out a Craft Keeper, And she didn't want to make eye contact with him.
Well, who does?
That's why he put sunglasses.
I brought him up to the kitchen to remember to bring him to the shoot, and I had to put him back down in the basement because she was like, I wouldn't go into the kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we went to, so this is fascinating. So a couple of years ago, we went to Spirit Halloween at the Old Circuit City.
Yes.
For a Junt's card.
Which is still there this year, by the way.
Right. And we went. And I do have to say, so it looks like this year they've gone for a Michael Myers Halloween theme.
Yep.
Where it's more like about like, it looks more like an abandoned house with Michael Myers stuff. And a lot of but not as
Horrify you into shopping?
I guess so.
Like really
Why
tying
you
in
into
with the
spending
movie,
money?
I guess. Even though the movie is
Well, yeah, I do believe that's the idea of the whole store is to,
sell you things.
yeah. You're like, fuck you.
Well, I love Halloween. I love Halloween, but I hate, like, I live in Fall River. And sometimes just driving through the neighborhoods, you'll see people have displays.
Help yourself.
And sometimes they'll be, like, the worst one I saw was, like a clown in a straitjacket hung upside down and then what pisses me off about Halloween is people who feel the need to turn their yards and porches into like a CSI crime scene. Like it doesn't need to
I think
be.
it's funny.
Oh, you don't like the home haunts?
I hate things that are like overly gory. I like like witches and pirates
Sure.
and like ghosts and stuff, but not like murderous, disgusting.
I think that's all part of it. Different people
like
find that funny.
There's different levels of. The holidays' roots are in the idea of like, hey, there's death, and we've got to deal with this thing called death.
Yeah.
And we've got to.
But it was to scare off the spirits or confuse the spirits by
Some
dressing
of that,
up
but
as,
it's also the death of the leaves and it's decay and it's I think what else did?
I think
so
it's
rip out a
I think
mannequin's
it's really
spine.
evolved over time from a harvest-based thing to an appreciation of souls and like the Day of the Dead in Mexico. And I think we kind of use it as a recognition of just grotesque, horrible things that are going to happen.
I was watching a cool documentary called Gone to Pieces about the slasher genre, and they were talking like the filmmakers were theorizing why do people like to go see gory movies with lots and lots of blood. And they were like, there might be, it might be in our DNA to some degree to lust for blood a little bit and want to see horror and want to see horrific things and want to see people pulled to pieces and go to the stadium and watch gladiators kill one another. And this is kind of like a fake, it's like the treadmill version of that where you're emulating death and horror without anybody having to
Or
be hurt.
slightly to get a little darker with that topic. I mean, there's all kinds of places on the internet. Those
creepypasta.
Well, no, even more so like that.
Slenderman Dash website.
There's a Reddit called Watch People Die, where there's video where you're watching like people, who have died.
Which for me is like very much like the line cross.
Yeah.
Where
it becomes like real gore and real blood.
Yeah, like for me, like that's a bright line of like.
Yeah, but like
we were having fun, and now we're not having fun.
For me, I see. I'm not interested in even going to see those movies though. For me, the line is earlier.
Yeah. Fair enough, but I do think it's interesting. We've talked about it previous years where it's like, wow, this is a somewhat perverse thing to do, is to be like, imagine if my head was wrapped in barbed wire and I was, but there's something about it that kind of like, because we live our lives in a way that doesn't really acknowledge our mortality very often.
No.
We don't live like we're gonna die.
No.
We live like we're going to go on and on. Like we can just argue about all this petty nonsense.
True.
Like we should pick up after ourselves or something. Really, we're going to be dead. So I think it's a fun. I like that there's a sense of humor about it, and that once a year it's like, oh my god, horror.
Yeah.
But anyway. Normally, the Spirit Halloween entrance, we've talked about this on past podcasts, is pretty grotesque.
Yeah.
Like, shockingly grotesque. This year, not so much. It's just a Michael Myers dummy with a knife, and that's about it.
Does it jump out at you, or do you have to, like, step on a pad or something?
I think you have to step on a pad, and I think he just kind of rotates. So there's not much going on there. Yeah,
I mean, that's fine. It's like...
But there were a couple of, like, giant monsters with, like, bug eyes, and, they just looked like these sort of grotesque creatures. And there is a part of me that's like, it'd be fun to scare Glow a little bit. And I was like, let's just kind of like subject her to one of these animatronic monsters a little bit.
Yeah.
And just see like what she'll...
Considering she didn't find Michael Myers scary, she waved at him.
Hi.
So we brought her a little closer. We knew what we were doing. And she didn't start screaming or crying, actually ever. She just stared at it for a really long time trying to understand it.
She had to be
And then-
quiet and steady to make sure.
Yeah, and then she just started clutching Nina harder. And just like, what is that thing?
That's kind of a little more concerning than a freak out to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised because if she couldn't handle trash bag at a big furry blue,
Well,
then
she
how
was
did she
also-
manage?
She was a lot younger then.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
she was just a babby.
Maturity goes really in quick stages.
She
when
was
you're
so
young.
immature back then.
And after a while, after she met him a couple times, and I think after like the
Yeah, she
second or
didn't care
third time,
anymore.
she was fine with him.
I gave her a lot of shit for being so immature back in March.
Have his nice sit down glow.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
This is bullshit behavior.
So I have a question. So are you amused by other people, like videos of other people being horrified or tricked into shit like that?
Yeah,
I
I've
get
seen
really
good.
annoyed.
I've seen some good ones. Yeah, sure. People being startled, people being
So,
scared.
so there are different prank shows. Like there are ones that are funny.
Well, sure.
Like-
I mean, there's this trash content of pranks on YouTube that
Yeah.
I'm not thrilled about. But I don't know.
There are ones where
Jackass has done some good
someone
stuff.
like hides in a bush or something. Something happens where it causes people to run, like horrified for their life, and things like that kind of like get on my nerves because like if the person fell and they could hurt themselves.
It's
some
like- it's
people
like-
can like really hurt
Well,
themselves. and-
I'm with you there, except for I was watching some just today of this guy has a big problem with people stealing packages off his porch. And so he rigged the package to shoot a shotgun blank.
Okay, well that's a little different because
and-
the person's being
Yeah, the person is stealing their package and the people get freaked out and fall over and, it's very funny to me.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if they were just trying to innocently live their lives and you screw with them, then...
Yeah, that's okay because there's an element of like a villain getting their comeuppance, which
Yeah.
kind of like justifies it. But talking about just like people walking down the street with their kid and like someone in a clown mask jumps out and
there
like,
are a
oh
lot
look
of-
how funny this is.
But there are certainly a lot of people who enjoy that, though. I mean, that's why people go to
There
haunted
is.
houses and like want to be
Yeah,
spooked and
those
scared. So not that everybody who's
factory of
scared
terror.
does, but if you're doing it to a friend and you know that that's something that
Yeah.
you might enjoy,
That's what. But I mean, people that go to haunted houses are
Paying for the experience.
they're
Willing
There's
participants.
by buying a ticket, they're consenting to it.
Didn't I
They're
hear a
not-
story about someone who went to one of those and then was too scared and then wanted to sue?
Bitched out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
really?
can't. I mean, that's,
recently there was just something on Yahoo News about somebody who went to one of those and accidentally stabbed someone with a real knife because
Ooh.
they didn't realize. I think there were an actor in it, and they were kind of being like goaded by the other actors to like stab like one of their friends who was going through the house, but they were holding something dangerous.
whoops,
and-
wacky misunderstanding.
How do you fuck that up? Like you're like, this is a haunted house with costumes, and fake knives.
Boy, this,
know what, that was the
this fake knife feels really heavy.
That
In my
was
chest.
This fake blood feels really bad.
that was the plot of the. There was a new movie, Hellfest, where it was kind of like that, where there was a traveling like haunted theme park, and they said. The last time this came around, one of the people going through actually got stabbed, and they were propped up as people. Everyone thought that they were a display for a couple days until they realized that there was actually a dead body in there. So,
I think any prank that comes with the reasonable expectation that somebody might get hurt is probably a bad prank. Yeah, it's like comedy, sort of.
I just want to piggyback on what Matt was saying about the movie where somebody who was injured or killed or impaled, they thought that they were part of the display. That's like the thing that everybody always talks about, that the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disney World actually has real skeletons.
Real skeletons,
Because
right?
when they put it together, they bought them from a medical supply company.
Yep.
So a couple of skeletons, I believe a couple of them are still original, and then anything that's been replaced obviously is no longer a real skeleton, but...
Do you think we can get one to replace Craft Keeper next year?
You can buy them. You can buy them online. They're several $1,000s.
I think the same thing happened.
I
to
wouldn't
the,
want.
the guy that murdered Jesse James. He was like preserved and then like
Casey
bought
Affleck?
and sold. Yeah,
Casey.
his body. If I'm remembering it right, his body was like preserved as like look, and then they charged tickets like look at the guy, the body of the guy that killed Jesse James, and then it went into circulation and they forgot about it, and then it turned, and then someone thought it was just a prop until they like broke it open and they realized that this is an actual like dried up husk of a real human being.
Because it stunk or something, or how do you? Even know?
I don't know. Well, I mean, look up the story, but
He had a Boston accent. It was Casey Affleck. But on the topic of Spirit Halloween,
Yeah.
they have a new one in Fall River, and it's where the old job lot was. The job lot that we also did at Jones Card at.
Yep.
And It looks nothing like the other Circuit City Spirit Halloween.
Yep.
I mean, I guess what it comes down to is these Spirit Halloweens, because they're pop-up stores, they just conform to whatever shape the building was in.
They do, yeah.
This is just literally an empty job lot with fake paper walls that hold the merchandise.
Yes.
And just around the perimeter.
I saw a YouTube video in which somebody did one in a Kmart, and the Kmart's way too big for a Spirit Halloween.
You just hug the perimeter. Or they made
They
fake
just
walls.
made fake walls.
Yeah.
But I always liked the Circuit City one because they used every space.
Yeah.
They did the same thing at the Toys R Us in Swansea.
I heard that like Spirit Halloween was just like swimming in it this year because of Toys R Us. They were just going to be able to occupy
They
it.
had the pick of locations.
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, the more businesses go out of business.
Spirit Halloween R Us.
I heard Toys R Us may be coming back though. Did you hear that?
too.
Yeah, I heard that the brand was purchased
Yeah,
by somebody.
and they didn't want to break it up. They Zach Stein.
Just let it go.
Yeah,
Let
do
it
you
die
think
in
it's time?
dignity.
That nostalgia.
I mean, it's already non-dignified, but it's
Yeah.
like
I
just
think you
let
could
it go.
still make it a viable concern.
It's hard for me to imagine a world without Toys R Us.
It's like, toting around a dead guy's corpse and being like, look at the guy who killed Jesse James.
And then you open it and it's
And you're
Casey
like,
Affleck.
Casey Affleck.
hey, look, it's a toy store. No, it's not. It's a corpse.
So are there any
but I bought
big
it.
toy stores left? Because there used to be,
No.
I remember KB toy stores.
They're gone.
They were gone a while ago.
Yep.
Toy-
Child
And then
World's
Toys R Us.
gone. Toy Works is gone.
Yeah, I guess there's not really any
So
toys.
FAO Schwartz, I think, is coming
Kids
back
don't
too,
play with toys anymore.
I think.
I mean, electronics.
I mean,
Electronics.
They
You
can get
buy them
all
on
their
Amazon.
They can get all their toys in department stores or
Yeah.
Amazon.
Where have you gotten all the Glow's toys?
Amazon or Target.
Yeah. There you go. You don't need no Toys R Us.
In that Spirit Halloween and Job Lot, there was a mini haunted house.
Really?
There was a little teeny tiny, maybe, I don't know, 20 feet of like strobe lights and spookies that would jump out at you, animatronics.
Oh, so
And-
it was like a display to show like what they had.
Yeah, but you could walk through it as if it were a haunted house.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
And so we were like, maybe we should walk Flo through this. And do you remember what her reaction was? It wasn't good.
She clung on to me tightly, but we just didn't step on any of the things to have the spooky stuff jump out at her. But then there was like a loud like screaming sound that came that we didn't know was gonna go through, so we kind of rushed her through it. When she was back out, she was fine. We had to take her over and show her some PJ Masks cartoons
Yeah.
of costumes.
We need to show her like properties she recognized.
Like, here's comfy
Like,
things.
oh,
you
it's
know.
Anna and Elsa, and like it's Elmo and PJ
Yeah.
Masks, and look, it's sexy Elmo.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, I think there are some like
That tickles.
risque Sesame Street costumes.
Oh,
Yeah, that
God.
Sexy trash bag it.
I want to see that costume.
She's like, I don't know if I'm turned on or scared.
Challenge accepted.
I mean,
Wait,
we
so
have
is-
sexy bot Mac.
Is that gender specific? Does it have to be a sexy female bot Mac?
It is
Like a-
sexy
Sexy
trash
bag
bag.
it.
And
Well,
whatever your mind conjures up, that's what
It
it
says
is.
unisex on the package.
The trash bag.
I imagine it's a costume for women.
No,
Should they want to be sexy trash bag it?
I mean, men can be sexy trash bag it too. It says unisex on the package.
Anytime it says sexy on a costume, it's implied for because that's like geared towards men looking at women and scantily.
all right. So
What are you trying to say, Matt?
I mean, look,
I'm saying that sexy
I have
costumes are not really marketed
I
towards
have seen
men
the
at
costume
Halloween.
"sexy firefighter" before, and it's just like the strapless top, the
Yeah.
top
Yeah,
and
it's
the
just
pants.
nudity.
But 9 times out of 10,
Look, I
it's
don't see any
designed.
firefighter here. She got
Yeah,
a
just
hose,
suspenders. Just suspenders.
Yeah,
over
just
the nipples.
suspenders,
twirling a garden hose.
Your property has been
The fuck are
completely
you for
demolished.
Halloween? I'm sexy firefighter.
Hey,
I could
you
also
save
be
a-
sexy gardener.
Can you save my house, please? You look great, but
It's a couple other things here. So I cut to some clips in the Halloween episode that they've surely already seen by now. Where when we were cooking, I said a weekend in Fairhaven.
Fairhaven.
Because
I want- yeah, that
I was
whole
making
segment.
fun of. Well, I was piling on with Ashley about mispronouncing raviolis as raviolis. And I said weekend in Fairhaven. Then I cut to like 7 clips of somebody saying Fairhaven, and
Yes.
surely the broad audience has no clue what I'm talking about,
Not at all.
or the significance of this
Fairhaven.
clip. So I'll explain them now. So we live in southeastern Massachusetts, and there's a town out here called Fairhaven.
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 Haven.
And Fall River is a town nearby. Zach lives in Fall River. And the Lizzie Borden murders happened there.
Yes, very famous for that.
As a matter of fact, the little estate there is right at my bus station that I take every day. Oh. It says Borden in bushes.
Is it on Borden Street?
Borden. There was an Alfred Hitchcock Presents episode called, I don't know, was it like The Old Sister or something?
Yep.
Anyway, it was about Lizzie Borden, and the whole thing was that Emma Borden did it and not Lizzie. That's
okay.
It's low budget it's like 1963, and it was shot in a day clearly, and the actors aren't very good, and it's just not good in any way. But because it's regional, it's local. They make one reference to Fall River, which I almost cut in. They were like, "You were going to go to Fall River," and they say she keeps saying, "I'm going to go to FAIRhaven."
FAIRhaven. I didn't realize that was actually. I thought they were talking about some other FAIRhaven.
No, they're
really talking about our FAIRhaven.
Yeah,
that's funny.
And so, I mean, first of all, nobody from this area would ever pronounce it FAIRhaven.
And who the hell would go to FAIRhaven? Even in the time of Lizzie Borden, you took one bridge. You took the Brightman Street Bridge over to FAIRhaven.
Was FAIRhaven ever like a nice predominant? Like Fall River used to be like full of money.
It was
Brightman
farmland.
Street Bridge didn't exist in Lizzie.
No,
Borden.
but there was a train track that ran across.
There was a ferry.
Yeah, but there was a train track.
There was a ferry that would
1900s.
ferry across the river.
12 o'clock ferry?
Sorry.
When what? No. What?
I don't know how these gentlemen know this stuff. It's blowing my mind.
When was Lizzie Borden times? Do we know?
It was late 1800s, 1880s.
I'm pretty sure that train bridge was there in the 1800s.
Was the McDonald's train there in Lizzie Borden times?
No.
Something spooky going on at the Lizzie Borden house.
McDonald's pumpkin pills for Lizzie Borden.
Should you explain that we had a McDonald's in Fall River that had a train poking out of it?
That is explained in an After Hours episode. Hopefully you've seen it.
Yeah,
because you can even see an aerial shot of it moving
Die Hard
out
fans.
of.
Yes.
You know.
Oh yeah, that's right. Someone with a drone, right?
That's
They
pretty cool.
followed it all the way to like.
They got no
24.
views. We should review them on No Views. I would give them an A+.
Yeah, where did it go? It went down to Portsmouth and then
graveyard.
My guess is it went to FAIRhaven.
all aboard.
that train's having a weekend in FAIRhaven. So I totally get it on that Halloween episode.
Just past New Bedford.
New Bedford.
In New Bedford.
1892 was alleged.
We're going to New Bedford. Weekend in New Bedford.
Yeah, Lizzie Borden was 1892.
1892. So, are you trying to figure out what FAIRhaven was at that time?
No. There used to be a bridge that connected.
In 1892,
I don't
Lizzie
know if-
Borden sailed the Taunton River.
To FAIRhaven.
It's where the two electrical transmission towers are now. There used to be a rail bridge that crossed that river.
I see.
And I was trying to find out when. I know it was demolished in the 70s. I'm trying to figure out when it was built, but it's not important.
Yeah, fair enough.
FAIRhaven
Want to
enough.
know how Emma Borden got to FAIRhaven and back in time to kill her parents and blame it all on Lizzie.
Well, look, here's a photo of the bridge. You can have it. That's the bridge that used to run.
Oh, cool.
It was called the Slades Ferry Bridge.
Stunning.
And let me actually
beautiful.
find
Yeah, because
the years.
the actual ferry just used to ferry right across.
Yeah. And then
It's
they
like a
added
World's
the bridge.
Fair contemporary.
It was built in 1875 and removed in 1970. So at the time of Lizzie Borden, she could have taken the Slades
that's
Ferry
how
Bridge
Emma
to
got there and
FAIRhaven.
back in time to murder her parents.
Yeah.
You used the FAIRhaven Bridge train.
Yeah.
No, because that's just across the
Slades.
Taunton River. So to get to FAIRhaven, you'd have to. You have quite the travel.
Mounted
through-
a horse.
Yeah, you'd have to
You'd
go.
have to travel all along
all the way.
Route 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the way past Lincoln Park.
Lincoln
Yes.
Park.
Lincoln
Well, you
Park.
could have taken the rail the whole way, though.
Yeah, there was the light rail that ran all the way along Route 6.
This is very boring for everyone.
I don't think so. I think
Zach and I are very interested in this. Everybody else is, the rail. I
like-
can tell you the exact path
Past the
that rail
non-existent
took.
China Bell. Because
Yeah, that's right.
A weekend in
China
China
Bell.
Bell.
That's right. The China Bell. China Bell. Past the park.
A McDonald's train. A weekend at McDonald's train.
She ordered herself a spooky McFlurry and
I couldn't have killed I was getting the McDonald's pumpkin pail. Only at a McDonald's.
Case dismissed.
But so it was weird that it was being referenced at that period. It was weird that it was in a show from that period, from the 60s.
That's funny.
And it was, my guess is that the people who made it don't know much about our area. Just something about FAIRhaven.
FAIRhaven.
All they knew was that Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her father 40 whacks.
Yeah, exactly. Which the episode does start off with some
Allegedly.
little kid loudly singing that. You know, like that. You know that quality of older films where the audio is peaking the whole time.
Yeah.
Like,
You can barely comprehend it.
I'm very familiar with that.
I made a discovery this Halloween season.
Uh-huh.
That so when I was a kid, I always felt like there were lots of sitcom episodes where like kind of a non-canon episode, because Halloween is a time for non-canon episodes.
Sure.
In a lot of sitcoms,
Famously, The Simpsons.
obviously.
Yeah, where possible things would happen to
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, even on sitcom, like that was so. I always remembered there were like lots of episodes where somebody turned into a werewolf. Or they thought they were turning into a werewolf, and they had to like rush to like a fortune teller or a gypsy and be like, I think I'm turning into a werewolf, and she would tell them about the pentagram, and et cetera, et cetera.
A la the movie Silver Bullet.
I've never seen it.
Well, I think that's what they're directly parodying.
Okay, not the Wolfman. That's what I went with.
Was this a Halloween episode of Family
Sure it
Matters?
wasn't
It
Teen
sounds
Wolf?
right up. It sounds.
It does,
exactly
doesn't it? So what I realized this season was that I'm pretty sure the only ones that where that actually happened were Dinosaurs and Boy Meets World.
Was that it?
They also those two series were created by the same person.
Well, Dinosaurs was already kind of ridiculous and unrealistic.
But those two episodes play out identically, where it's like, you know,
Robbie turns into a.
Robbie thinks he's turning into a
dinosaur.
werewolf. He's like telling the story to Baby, and it's the same thing where like they go to a fortune teller, and the fortune teller like says the spooky stuff, but there's lots of gags involving the fortune teller.
Of course.
Where she's like she charges him money, and it's funny. And then like later on, he remembers you're like at the sign of the pentagram, and then he's like the pentagram, and she's like makes the memory said something funny back. In Boy Meets World, he's looking at the Pentagon, and he's like, is it the pentagram or the Pentagon? And she goes, same thing.
The Pentagon or the pentagram?
Same difference.
It's the same gag. Wow.
It's the same guy.
So who in Boy Meets World was becoming a werewolf?
Corey.
Topanga.
Because a wolf had escaped from the zoo, and Mr. Feeney brought his trash into the house. Widows and orphans, Michael.
Mr. Matthew.
Obviously, Michael Jacobs, the creator of both series, was like, if I ever get a sitcom, if I ever get two sitcoms.
I wonder if he's done other sitcoms and they've had similar Halloween episodes.
I think that's pretty much it for him, but I think he definitely wanted to make sure he got in those.
Yeah.
Those very maybe next year we should just do that's our Halloween special next year is like we just do that stupid werewolf episode.
Let's write a few new gags, a couple new.
Just the same one, you know. And you can just be the fortune teller, so that way, like you're not in it the whole time. It's not exhausting or anything.
Yeah.
Who would be good? Who should be turning into a werewolf? Trash Baggett.
You could be like turning into a human.
Yeah.
No, I'm turning human.
No, stay away from me. It's Botback.
It's just,
He's just turning into a homeless
the
person.
origin story of Boring Chuck. He used to be this really interesting, exciting guy.
Now he's
I'm turning boring.
Oh, he's turning boring. I see. He was really charismatic. And he starts
Boring Chuck is becoming charismatic.
Stay away.
That was kind of the joke when we were
He's turning into Ashley.
when we were filming recently. I appeared as Trash Baggett, but we couldn't find the gloves.
Right.
So I just had to have my human hand. So then behind the scenes, the joke was he's slowly, as a scientist, he's finding a way to turn himself back into a human or into a human.
You know what that reminds me of? Not that it has anything to do with Halloween. The story of the Ninja Turtles, as most people understand it, is pet turtle. Well, so the live action movies tell it one way, and the animated series tell it another. In the animated series, it's that pet turtles fell into the sewer, and that a guy, Hamato Yoshi, a human being, was living in the sewers, and he got exposed. Yes, and he got exposed to the mutagen too, and because he had been chilling with a lot of rats. It was like you turn into whatever animal you
hang out with.
Yeah. And he turned into a
turtles
rat,
were all
and they turned
hanging out
into
with
humans
each
because
other.
they've been hanging out with him.
Yeah.
It's basically the same thing in the live action, except
He starts off as a rat.
He is the rat of Hamato, the pet rat of Hamato Yoshi.
Oh, is that what it was?
And he had been what the mutagen in that just causes you to grow in intellect. It just causes you to be
and size.
It's size and intellect. So, in the video game, the NES video game,
Yep.
they don't. I think they do a quick little origin story. I think it follows the animated series version.
Because it was the same animation style.
Yeah.
It was like the same animation style.
If you beat that game, the weirdest shit happens. The end cutscene is Hamato Yoshi's like, "Thank you, turtles. You've beaten the Shredder. I can finally turn back to my human form."
Which was it for NES?
And he just turns back into his.
He was waiting.
Which I
Like a Switch, huh?
it's just like thank
So
you.
wasn't it just Turtles 1
Jesus,
for Nintendo?
finally, yeah. The one that's like really hard and
Yeah, that was super hard.
basically
Yeah.
impossible.
The second and third ones were fun because they were like arcade.
Stupid.
It was
Yeah.
so stupid.
That's bizarre.
I think that should be a Halloween thing. Or like for some reason.
Thanks. Poof.
Yeah. I didn't know anything was holding him back. I mean, I remember episodes where there was some discussion of like, wow, like Master Splinter, we could turn you back into a human. Like, and wouldn't you like that? Because that was an ongoing thing in the series was like, this poor guy's got to be a rat the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Like,
In the sewers.
maybe we can, and that's why the movie canon makes a lot more sense. Because it was like, it's just a rat that gets more intelligent.
Yeah.
How do we feel about those kinds of things for Halloween? Like nuclear things and exposure to chemicals and natural disasters? Because I've sometimes seen in haunted houses like nuclear waste exposure and creatures, but they don't really strike me as Halloween horror.
You're going for like sci-fi horror.
I think it's all kind of
Aliens.
the same bucket. I think it's just different, aspects of it.
You're thinking of stuff that goes like,
I'm thinking of aliens. I'm thinking of science experiments gone wrong. That doesn't really strike me as Halloween, but I guess it's.
well, what about the fly?
Well, I mean, the fly is also body horror. I mean, I'm thinking more if the creature already shows up as is and is
Like
trying to
Toxie
attack people.
from Toxic Avenger.
Like,
That was
you know,
Halloween, was it?
No.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, The Blob, again, any alien movies.
I think
clown-
all
what was
like
that
it
clown
all just
movie?
becomes general horror,
You bring
especially.
You bring up a good point. I think that, but like Halloween has also become like the designated time to celebrate and enjoy like campy movies too. Like
Yeah.
not even necessarily horror movies, just like I mean
Rocky Horror.
Birdemic. Yeah, so Rocky Horror. I mean, I guess it has its sort of like inspirations from
Frankenstein.
Well, there's Frankenstein, but there's also like old like Fred Astaire movies. I don't know. So
Like Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy.
yeah. It's kind of like for some reason, camp and B movies get celebrated. Like I feel like you could go to a midnight
Well,
screening of
horror and horrible.
yeah. Like you could go see The Room,
Yeah.
and it would be Halloweeny enough. It'd be fine.
It'll be fine.
So just like low production value equals Halloween.
Well, could you also dress up as the characters when you go see the room?
Yeah.
Wasn't
right.
I remember
Costume
there
element.
used to be
Toss a football.
local productions of Rocky Horror. Wasn't it always around Halloween? Wasn't it
Oh yeah,
Halloween night.
So he was involved, and Nina and I were also involved. I played Dr. Scott. You were always crew /
Yeah, I was just like
Transylvanians?
a Transylvanian.
Yeah. So this year we did it at UMass Dartmouth. This year they got a Facebook group together of all the alumni from going as far back as possible, and they were promoting. They wanted to do an alumni show, and they're doing it on the 27th. And they were
I'll go and be involved in that.
as recently as last week. They needed a Dr. Scott still, and they were like, "We need someone who played Dr. Scott." And if I didn't have this red cow thing happening, this child thing happen.
Yeah, this child thing.
Child, you're constantly trying to scare.
Yeah, like this will scare the shit out of you.
Come see Daddy in a pair of nylon stockings.
That'll do it. Yeah. You press my button on the floor. For the thrills. Well, you should. If you're not in the Facebook group, you should. I should invite you then, maybe, just so that you're at least aware of whatever it is
I'll be
they're
involved.
on about.
I mean, I'm not sure if it's too late now, but
Nina was also a Transylvanian. I'm not sure we've ever told the story. We were in that production when we were seniors in high school, and you were supposed to be an enrolled student of that university. And we just showed up because it was like an open campus. There was no security.
they didn't really
They
care.
don't care. I guess. I don't remember admitting to being a high school student.
It just kind of wasn't disclosed.
Well, I mean, I wasn't 18. And that is a problem.
Well, like at one point they all wanted to go out like drinking, like as a cast.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, like we can't even we're not even 20-year-old students, 19-year-old students. We can't even figure out how to do this.
I was in the show while you were in the show too, right?
I don't think you.
Because I remember.
Oh yeah,
seeing
you were crew. That's right. That's
I remember
right.
seeing you at rehearsal because we would rehearse in one of the classrooms.
I remember
on the
you
campus.
doing. I remember you doing callbacks.
I mean, we are
that year.
4 years older than them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were
I
of
was
the
in-
appropriate age.
I think I was in the pre-show probably.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I do.
This was like in 2000, 2001.
This is 2004 for me.
Oh, yeah, I might have come back for a while, but yeah, when I first started, when I first got involved, it was like 2000.
I want to tell a story about Matt. Matt wasn't in the show that year, but he would come back and visit at the rehearsals.
Oh, that's what it
And
was.
you were asking me something about when like the Transylvanian rehearsals were going to be. And I was like, oh yeah, we don't need to come to these things, but you know, we only need to come to the last two, blah, blah, blah. And you were like, yeah, I know, I've done this before. Like you kind of like gave me the attitude, like, shut up with the information, I know how this works. And I was like, okay, sorry. It was weird.
Well, 16 years later, if I was really that rude about it, sorry.
He hasn't aged.
Sorry.
The only reason I remember is there's no grudge or anything. It was just probably like, you know, other than like the 10-pound stuff, like the only interaction I ever really had with you. And I was like, this is bizarre.
By that point, we had to have been in the throes of 10 pounds. I mean, we had like 2004.
Probably. I might have been just trying to be like sarcastic. Like I'm a seasoned vet. I've done this, for 2 weeks. So
I remember like that was one of the first times I was around like a lot of theater kids, and I just remember like during downtime they would like it was a common thing for there'd be like a fat girl and like a gay guy, and they'd sing at each other a lot. Like they'd look deep into each other's eyes and sing, and they thought that was really they thought that was really funny. Neither of them were attractive enough to be in the show. And certainly there's no romantic chemistry. One is fat and one is gay. Anyway. Did you have topics you had? 'Cause those are all mine.
Sure.
Did you have something about them all?
Well, I don't know how interesting it is because it's a little kid specific, but I've been shocked at the different array of activities that I was never really exposed to as a kid. Like I know we've talked about haunted hallways and haunted houses and stuff. But now having a kid, I'm seeing lots of things pop up. So one is like the alternatives to trick-or-treating. Like there's
that's
like
a
like
newest
the
thing,
like the
a newish
mall
thing,
events
though.
where it's
Yeah.
like come trick or treat at the mall, like store to store, and we'll have activities
no, that's
at the
been.
mall.
I mean, I remember that being a thing like when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
it's bigger
It's
now.
been a
become
thing that-
more of a thing
Yeah.
as trick-or-treating has continually fallen off.
I mean, I definitely know we've talked about in the past, like school. You go to
Right.
school and trick or treat.
And like trunk or treat, like where like people will decorate their cars in different themes and go to parking lots, and you go from car to
Free
car.
candy van.
Hop right in.
No, it's like a sanctioned event that you parents are taking their kids to.
It's very sanctioned.
Sanctioned by certain organizations.
Yeah. Anything on wheels, you
Nambla.
probably going to want to stay away from.
The annual NAMBLA trick-or-treat event.
Come on, kids.
But you do it like as a family, and you like what? Like I remember, like I
Trunk-or-treating is a
Let me ask you guys. Do you think that when Glow gets a little bit older, you'll take her house to house trick or treating?
Yeah. We're going to do it this year.
I'd rather not. No, I've never.
He has grabbed the mic away.
What do you mean?
So trick-or-treating was always fine, but when I was a kid, I always would have rather done like a Halloween party or like a
yeah.
Halloween movie night and like eating food, and I always
Glow's
kind of
not
felt.
you.
I know. I always kind of felt dragged out to go
I remember
trick-or-treating.
some of them, the nights were so cold because by Halloween it can be really freezing and it was miserable.
Yeah,
and some
my
were
costumes
fun.
always had dresses, and the wind would blow up my dress.
And my mom always made us wear like sweatpants and like a sweatshirt under our
Over-
costumes,
under.
which,
Yeah.
which always like changed the shape of it and made it
You
look
look
shitty
bloated.
anyway.
Yeah, what are you?
I didn't have that problem. I always looked bloated.
Oh, it was worse if the costume was too small that you couldn't fit anything under. So you just had to wear like a coat over the costume. Then what was the point?
Yeah.
I mean, I lived on a busy street, technically a highway, but not an interstate. But
This is probably the difference between you and I. Is I lived in like a neighborhood, so you may have enjoyed the idea of it more than I did because I got to do it whenever.
I was so jealous of the kids who lived in like quiet neighborhoods where they could just walk in the middle of the street. And So but I do. I
In
remember.
every Halloween movie where someone's trick or treating, it's never on the side of a highway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Play in the road and just get out of the way when a car comes.
Oh, can we cross it? Nope. Here comes
At risk of life and limb, we're gonna get some candy tonight.
So we didn't do a lot of it. At best, my parents would take me down to like the nearest quiet street.
That's what mine did.
And then they would like just kind of like roll their car creepily to the next house.
Exactly.
Watch you trick or treating.
I'm sure we've talked about this before, where I used to go in Tiverton, this Dion Ave and Saxony Ave. It was just a little loop. And the houses are all so close together that you could just walk back and forth.
And I mean, I don't think my parents wanted anything to do with trick-or-treating. I thought they were annoyed by the whole thing.
I was always just never impressed with how much candy I got. And we would trick or treat for hours, which we've talked about. My brother and I would go like way later than you should, like until like 10 p.m. But I was just like, I have so much candy at home. Like my parents would buy so much candy to give out to trick-or-treaters that I'm like, it wasn't exciting to have a bag full of candy. I was like, I can just buy a bunch at home.
Because your dad was so into fitness.
What a luxurious childhood. There's plenty of candy. Why do we need more? This is no fun to get in a costume. I was off on a highway with a fitness freak dad who had no candy, and we weren't giving candy out. So I was either gonna miss Halloween, or I could have wanted to live your life.
Your parents never gave out candy?
There was no one would come on the highway.
No.
Again, vroom, vroom, tons of motorcycles all at
We'd
once.
only ever get Eddie Nicolau at my house. That was
Just
it.
him, right?
Just him. Yeah.
I do remember one year, Will and I, or something, this is a very long time ago, so it's fuzzy, but we went to your doorstep to check it out, to see if we could, on Halloween night, to see if you would hand out candy.
Your house is so far tucked back that
Yeah.
it was gonna
And I
come.
think you had something out that was like, take one.
Yes.
Oh, one of those?
Yeah.
The honor system?
Yeah, there's an honor system thing.
Every
there
time
wasn't
I've
that
ever-
much in there.
Every time I've ever seen something that was the honor system, it's always an empty bowl because whatever kid came just
Of course.
Of course. That's the standard for
We've been handing out
take
candy.
one bucket of candy.
We've been handing out candy at my house for a few years, and we always get, I don't know, something like maybe 20 kids total.
That's pretty good.
And it's always very cute. There's always like a lot of, like, and if you look down the street, like down the neighborhood, you can see like big clusters of kids. Like it almost starts to look kind of movie-esque.
That's a nice feeling. That's nice.
And they, we always get tons of candy for the kids. And they always like take a buttload. And then the parent always yells at them, like, put some of it back. They're like, we don't care. And then we always have like Swedish fish for the next like 7 months.
Yeah.
Just in the fridge.
And
Keep
Nina's fine with that.
Yeah, well, because lately, so we've talked about this previous years, we would go for like vegan candy, and it's just turned into like Swedish fish and Sour Patch Kids at this point.
Do you specifically buy things that you like so that whatever's left over that you'll enjoy it?
That's a famous thing for me, even when I have parties. That's why there's no all the sodas at my parties are always diet, because I'm the one who has to drink it afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Although your sodas are weird. They're never just like normal people's soda.
What? Hey, at my last party, what
Yeah,
was
sure.
the sodas? There
It was Sprite.
Yeah,
It was
there was
good.
Coke Vanilla, and there was
Fanta?
Fresca. And there was
Fresca, that's
blah, blah, blah.
Oh, that's something I want.
Just to like mix it up a little bit.
Fuse was left over.
That's something I
from
wanted to bring
holidays.
up. Matt here. So one of the things about being an adult with Halloween is you're supposed to go to like adult parties.
Yeah.
We don't really, for the most part.
No.
I mean, if we've gone to any, it's been Matt's.
Yeah, and they have been gone a long time.
But they were, well, technically they weren't. Everyone remembers them as Halloween parties because they were costumes.
They were typically his birthday.
They were always my birthday party, and I always wanted like a costume, a masquerade party. It's because, like I was saying before, how I hate. Yeah.
Looks like your pool's tearing ass around the backyard there.
Remember how I was saying before about how I hate spooky stuff? In the summertime, people would kind of shy away from spooky things.
I see. Oh, and so you were like the summer incentivized the kind of Halloween you like. So you celebrated Halloween in
Mardi
summer.
Gras is kind of like a masquerade, and like in Venice they have like
Yeah.
I wanted it to be Halloween, but like a little fancier. So I would have fireworks and ice sculptures and
Okay.
chocolate fountains, and I wanted to stay away from like the spooky, slimy.
I remember coming as Abo to one of your parties.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
yeah.
I do
I
remember
remember
that.
I went to a Matt Zagar party one time and I dressed as a pirate because I had nothing else but like a corset and I was like, I can throw on like just a bunch of fabric and look like a pirate.
Was that the one that
But it was when like the pirate ninja thing was really cool, so I felt kind of lame for like I was getting in on that.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't Will the ninja, or no, he was a samurai.
Who would win in a fight, pirate or ninja?
Ninjas.
That was
very small
shitty comedy 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes, and now never mind.
It's gotten even worse. Talk like a pirate day.
Oh God.
I also remember at that same party where I was dressed as Avo, Alan was imitating the corpse from Weekend,
at Bernie's.
Yeah.
And I didn't
That was
get
kinda
it
funny.
at the time. You just walked around like this with a trench coat on, and I thought, well, Inspector Gadget. I don't know. I had so much going on, and
He was doing that kind of the sunglasses and the kind of wiggly
kinda like-
wiggly walk as if somebody was a. But he was doing the Weekend at Bernie's 2 actually, where music reanimates the corpse.
Oh, I still haven't seen either of those.
Yeah.
I should. That's kind of. You think those are kind of Halloween movies?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess you're talking about a dead guy. Last year, Nina and I watched My Boyfriend's Back, which is I wouldn't say is super Halloween-y. You don't like it? You got like
I made the
an
mistake.
issue with this movie?
So when you gave me access to Plex, I went through them. I said, "Oh, which ones are?" And I just remember as a kid that being like, I just remember the trailer for it and thinking like, "Oh, I'll check it out." And I had seen bits. I remember bits and pieces of it, like when the guy tells him like, "You're not tough," and then it cuts to him like as a skeleton. He's like, "You call that you think that you've done anything to me?" And it's just his head left. It was such a bad movie. It was awful.
Well, yes. Fine.
Fine.
I'm sorry.
If you're all that offended
Fine.
by I almost said Weekend at Bernie's, My Boyfriend's Back. Well, that's it. We've fulfilled the Halloween podcast requirement.
Obligation,
Yeah.
commitment,
and
sacrament.
You know what we since we basically made the podcast for him, and let's face it, Ben White and Lewis.
Sure. The 3 views it'll have.
This was for Kieran Striefling,
Okay.
who had commented excited for this year.
Who has
you,
a fancy name.
you guys should revive the podcast. The long format banter is very entertaining. So there you fucking go.
There you fucking go.
And this was also, can I just throw this one out there? This was the first ever video Halloween podcast we've done.
Ooh.
They've all been audio before this.
Fun.
But if you go to our Halloween playlist on YouTube, you'll get all of the old Halloween podcasts on there, as well as all of our Halloween related content.
Yeah, check that out. There's some great stuff.
So happy How-ah-ween.
Happy How-ah-ween.
And make sure to not trick or treat tonight. It's no fun at all.
No.
There's already so much candy.
Just stay home.
Especially since it's
Watch Adam's Family Values.
October 14th. You're not going to get much candy if you go out tonight.
That's true. But yeah, look, you're blowing the whole illusion.
Spoiled
Sorry.
the illusion.
I'm pretty sure this is going up on Halloween Day. So good night.
Good luck and good night.
Where's the bird and took a nap? Gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, gave her father 41. There's the bird and took a nap. Gave her mother.
That's a wicked, wicked thing to say.